So the cool thing about this is whenever we start something like this, it's really good to start it with drawing pictures, which for me, I think helps me see things better. And because you guys are so good at these fraction bars, you should really, really be able to connect to this. So we're going to start with fraction bars, and then I'm going to move into one other way you can do this. So kind of keep in mind what we've already done in the past, and it's all going to kind of, you'll notice it all kind of spirals back around, okay? So previously, we were doing a whole number by a fraction. So let me circle this. So if you see, we have 2/3 times 4/5. Earlier, we were doing something like 3 times 4/5. And we knew it meant 3 groups of 4/5. It was the same as 4/5 plus 4/5 plus 4/5, and so on. So now what we're going to end up doing is we're going to actually be splitting things smaller. So I know that 3 times 4/5 here is 3 times larger than 4/5 because it's 3 groups of 4/5. Now we're actually going to be making our pieces smaller. Because if you look at our equation here, and I read our multiplication sign as of, because we know we like to say of, 2/3 of 4/5. Okay, well that's smaller than 4/5. It's 2/3 of 4/5. So now we're actually going to be making our pieces smaller. So instead of what we were doing before, we were making all of our pieces, adding our pieces together, we're now splitting those fractions into even smaller pieces. So 1 second. I want to see who left the meeting. Okay, let's write that down. All right. So here is where we're starting. We have 2/3 of 4/5. So in your notebook, I want you to draw a fraction bar. Don't worry about the circles yet. Draw a fraction bar of fifths. Shouldn't be too hard. We know that when we draw a rectangle and we draw 4 lines, we get 5 pieces, right? And you might have to erase and adjust. I'm gonna have to because mine looks really crazy. So if you want to make fifths, you draw 4 lines. 4 lines makes 5 pieces. I now have a fraction bar that shows me fifths. All right. So now we're only using, if you look at our equation here, and I'm actually going to erase this equation and write our one we're working on up here really big. We're only using 4 of these fifths. So we have our fifths here, but if we look at our equation up here, we're only using 4 of them. So from those fifths that you have, I want you to just very lightly, because we are going to split them, very, very lightly shade them in, shade in 4 of them. But if you do it too dark, we won't be able to split. So if you guys are doing fraction bars today, make sure you keep your shading kind of light, because we will be splitting those pieces even smaller, okay? All right, so we are now at 4 fifths. Hopefully that was easy, because you know what? We've done that 1,000 times. Now, we have to find 2/3 of this fraction. So what do you guys think I need to do to each of these pieces? What do we think?
Split them in half.
Okay, well, we're working in thirds. You got the right idea. Let's split them into thirds, right? So in order to, again, you always draw 1 less line than that number. 2 lines, and mine's really messy. 2 lines gives you 3 pieces. So take your fifths. I used a different color just to show you guys, but it doesn't matter. But this is why you want to shade lightly, because if you're going to split these pieces, you're not going to be able to see them if you shade too dark. So you should end up with something, because mine is just very terrible using this online pen.
Yeah, I'm using 2 different colors, a green and a red.
Yeah, and if you have different colors, it's a great idea.
I have a bunch of different colors.
I'm a big fan of color coding. I think it's helpful. So here's what we have. This is kind of what yours should look like. I don't need you to label every single little piece down here on the bottom though, because we're going to talk through it, and I think the amount of time that you would spend labeling every single 15th would just take too long. So we had 4/5, and you can see the 4/5 here with the circles, right? So we had 1, 2, 3, 4/5. And then we split them all into thirds. So I can circle 2/3 of each fifth. So I'm going to actually clear my screen, and I'm going to go down just a little bit here. So here's what we have next. 2/3 of each fifth. So I split everything. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/5. I know I only need 4 of them. So I circled those 4 in blue. You don't have to use blue and red, guys. If you don't have any extra colors, don't worry about it. Or if you don't want to circle your fifths, you could also shade them. And then we are only going to use 2/3 of each of those 4/5, because it's 2/3 times 4/5. So my fifth here was split into 3 pieces, but I'm only using 2 of them. My fifth here was split into 3 pieces, but I'm only using 2 of them. I'm going to go through and I'm just going to shade them here. You guys don't have to color them in. You can just circle them. So now I'm working in 15ths because I had fifths and I split them into 3 pieces. So one way to think of this is I took a fifth. This is a fifth, this is a fifth, each blue circle is a fifth, and I split it into thirds. So each piece is 1/15. Don't worry if this is a little confusing right now, we'll keep going over it. So now I am left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8/15. So again, if this is a little bit confusing, no worries. We're gonna try it again. We'll just keep going with this. And then I'll show you a little shortcut with multiplication, okay? So let's do this. Let's set up one more together and then we'll kind of shift gears a little bit, okay? So in your notebook, I need you to draw sixths. If I want to have sixths, how many lines do I need to draw? Anyone?
5.
Thank you. 5. If you want 6 pieces, you draw 5 lines. So in your notebook, mine's already drawn for me. You have a lovely rectangle with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. Now, according to my equation, Justin, how many of those 6 do I actually need to use?
So with that equation, you really need to use 5/6.
Mm-hmm. So again, in your notebook, very lightly shade, or if you have colored pencils, 5/6. Again, if you do it too dark, you're gonna end up losing your ability to draw over it. So I actually only need 5/6. Comes from up here, it's telling me 5/6. Now I need 3/4 of those 5/6. 3/4 of those 5/6. I don't need all of the 6, I only need 3/4 of them. Who can tell me how I would find 3/4 of these 5/6? What do I need to do to my pieces?
Put a cross through them.
Okay, I can put a cross through them. What do I need to split those pieces into, Rydian?
4ths.
4ths, right? This fraction right here is telling me we are working in 4ths of 6ths. If you guys, easiest way to do fourths is to do half and then do half again. So split it down the middle in half and split each of those halves in half. And you'll have pretty even pieces if you do it that way. All right, so I'm going to split my 5/6. They are all going to become fourths. Now I'm looking at a whole ton of fourths. All right, so I had 5/6. I split them into fourths, but I don't need all of those fourths. How many of those fourths do I actually need? Anybody? Maddie, how many of those fourths do I actually need?
Only one?
When you look at our equation, how many fourths do we have in our equation here?
3/4.
3/4. So I actually need 3 of each of these. So like Radian said, I could just kind of cross them out if I want. 1, 2, 3 of those. Or if you have an opposite color, that might be really helpful. There's my 3/4. 1, 2, 3 of those. 1, 2, 3 of these. 1. Hopefully yours is a lot neater than this. 1, 2, 3. And then I'd figure out, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Out of 24. This really cool thing about this is that there are a lot of different ways you can do this. But they all kind of get you to the same place. So if you're looking at this fraction bar and you're like, ooh, this is not for me, well, I have another strategy that I personally like a little bit better. The area model. I think this one really shows it in a much easier way. So here's what I want you to think of for this one. We are drawing an area model or a rectangle or even a square. Kind of depends on how you want to do it. Square is probably easiest. I like to think of a pan of brownies. So we're going to kind of change this problem. On your paper, I want you to draw me a square. And usually if we were in the classroom, I would actually bring in a pan of brownies, but here is my pan of brownies. I brought them in, I'm going to share, but you need to help me split them up. So here's what we got. All right. Ridian says, well, I want half of those brownies. Would that be fair? What do we think?
No.
No, Ridian, you'd be happy about it, right? And then the class is like, no, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, I just want a brownie, not half of the brownies. I just want a brownie.
But then I was like, you know what? Ridian's been really awesome lately, so Ridian gets half the pan of brownies. Okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this pan of brownies and I'm gonna split it in half.
I'm actually eating crackers right now.
Okay. So here's my pan of brownies. I'm gonna split it in half. Half of the pan goes to Ridian, the other half gets to share with the class. So I'm gonna color this in. I'm gonna color in my 1/2. I'm so sorry, you guys, but the white blank half, Ridian, he snuck in, he ate it, we're all so sad, but whatever, he deserves it. All right, how's that, Ridian? Okay, so.
I'm fine with a brownie, but okay.
Okay, just for today. So we have 1/2 of the pan of brownies left. The other half is gone. But then I said, okay, well, class, you guys can only really have 3/4 of this because I need to take some home to share with my mom. So we only have a half left because here's our fraction right here, 1/2. We only have a half left. And then I said, you guys can only have 3/4 of that half because I have to save the other bit. So we're going to split it into fourths now. 1, 2, 3 lines makes 4 pieces. And I said, all right, guys, 3 of those 4 we can share as a class. So I'm going to color in 1, 2, 3 of those 4. And that is my 3/4. Hopefully you guys have this in your notebook. If you do have colored pencils, it's probably pretty helpful here. All right, so 3/4. So now whatever is colored in both blue and red is what we get to share as a class.
I only use 2 lines.
That's fine. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total pieces. And our class only gets 3/4 of 1/2. So our class only gets 1, 2, 3/8 of the pan of brownies. I'm so sorry, guys, but we are really just having to scrap those brownies. So 1/2 times 3/4 equals 3/8.
Why'd you eat half the entirety of the brownies already in?
Man.
I'm eating crackers.
So here's the same idea. The example from the book is 2/3 times 4/5. And you'll notice and you can always say 2/3 of 4/5, right? We've been talking about that. So here's what you got. Here's my 4/5 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4/5 all covered in blue, right? So pretend someone else ate that 1/5. It's gone. We only have 4 left. But we only get 2/3 of those 4/5. So we have to split that 4/5, the blue lines, into thirds. Split it into thirds. And anything that has both colors we get. So right up in here, it's hard in their drawings because you can't really see the lines very well. I feel like they end up kind of getting all like blurred out, but you end up with 8/15. So hopefully you guys are figuring out how to draw this in your notebook. I will say if you do have colored pencils, it is really helpful. What I like to do sometimes if I don't have colored pencils is give different patterns. So if I was doing the 1/2 times 3/4, I would split it in half and maybe give this half like a wavy pattern of some sort-ish. And then when I split it into fourths, maybe give those pieces like a different type of pattern of some sort. And then anything that has both patterns is what you get. So if you don't have colored pencils, maybe some of them you shade really lightly and then the other ones you go across. It's kind of however it organizes for your brain. There are some practice ones here. We'll do one of these together really quick. So let's look at number 4. Actually, that's too similar to what we already did. Let's do number 5 instead. So set up a square in your notebook real quick. And you need to split, we have 5/6 of 1/3, because our of. Take your square and split it into thirds. And then we know when we look at our equation, we're only using 1/3. So I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to shade in just 1/3. The other 2/3 are gone, never to be seen again. All right, Addie, I have 1/3. What do I need to do to that 1/3? How much of that 1/3 am I going to use?
We're going to use.
Look at your equation right here. Right here.
5.
5/6, yeah. So if I want to split it into 6, I draw 5 lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines.
Miss Anderson, I know what color you should use for shading in the boxes. use like a green. Haven't used
Okay.
green yet.
I could use green. Let's use green right now. So Addie told me I need to split it into 6, but I'm only going to use 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then now you have to look at it and figure out how many pieces do you have in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 total pieces. How many of them have both colors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
5 out of 18. So now, cool part here is, do you want to see how this works the fast way? I'm going to leave this right here, actually. Give me 1 second, Mike.
I have the answer.
Okay,
Like,
so
you didn't even have to do an area model.
okay, well, just 1 second. We'll get to it. Who can tell me how many pieces I need to split my square into?
4.
3.
3.
3.
Good. Where'd you come up with 3 from? I got someone that told me 3. Who told me 3?
Me, and I got it from the equation.
Yeah, it's 2/3, 3/4 of 2/3, right? So I need to split it into 2/3. And then Bella, what do I need to do now?
You split it into 3/4.
Yes, ma'am. You guys are good at this. All right, so I'm going to change back to blue now. You're telling me I need 4ths, 1, 2, 3/4, and I only need 3 of these, right? Here's 1. Oh, I thought that was going to be a bigger marker. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. And Miss Bella, now, how many of these are shaded in with both?
6.
Good. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
12.
All right. Now that you guys understand this, do you want to see the super shortcut?
Yeah.
I want you to take a look at what Bella just told me. And does anyone notice anything about our equations and our answer? Take a look. Here was our equation. And here was
This is
our...
exactly what I do.
What did you notice, Ridian?
That the numerator is the answer to 3 times 2, and the same thing is with the denominator. 4 times 3 is 12, so the denominator for the answer is 12.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Well, you have to be able to explain it both ways. So I do want you to know how to multiply it, but I also want you to know how to draw the area model. So Ridian is right. If I was to say 3, and this is like the super fast shortcut way, but you still need to be able to do it both. Ridian is saying that if I multiply the numerator and multiply the denominator, I can get my answer. So if I multiply the top, 3 times 2 is 6. Multiply the bottom, 4 times 3 is 12. And that might be the easiest breakthrough we've ever had. If you go over here and you look at our next one, it's the exact same thing. If you go, oh, Ridian, can you mute yourself real quick? If you go to 5, same thing. 5 times 1 is 5. 6 times 3 is 18. Whoa. We still got to know how to use the fraction model and know how to use the area model because it's important to be able to explain our thinking. If you said 3/4 times 2/3 equals 6/12, and I asked you why, an area model would be a great reason to explain why. For the sake of really quick and fast, you can use multiplication. Again, I hope you have both in your notebook though, because we will have both today, okay? So you will be seeing some area model, you will be seeing some fraction bars, and then you will be seeing some like this where it says just multiply across. I will tell you that anything that's a whole number, you'll see a couple of these. you just put it over 1. Because 5 wholes would be the same as 5 over 1. So like, for example, number 7 or number 6, 5 over 1 would be the same as 5 times 1/4. I have now 5/4. So that's the only thing that you just really need to remember when you're going through this is if you see a whole number, just put it over 1. 6 over 1 or 4 over 1 here, okay? How are we feeling about